Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. And yes, I'm back with another live. This is my third live. How are you all doing? I hope that you are feeling good and coping with this season, this winter season. I really cannot wait for spring. I'm a spring baby. I just cannot wait. So let's just harness that energy whereby we don't let the weather rule us, okay? Because we have our own internal weather system that we carry. And I would say that mine is in sunshine mode. So I'm just going to shine and emanate warmth and just breathe, okay? So, I'm Aisha Mohammed and I am a divorce recovery coach and I help women rebuild their lives after divorce. So, it's a strange place to be, let's say, when you find yourself in this type of situation. And you can feel quite defeated. You can have so many different emotions, blaming yourself about what happened and shoulda, coulda, woulda, and such like. And it goes on. Your hopes have been dashed and it's an opportunity. That's one thing to take hold of. It's a new opportunity for you to go forward in life, defining what that life is going to look like and learning how to take the nuggets from your experience, learn the lessons and learn where you need to do some personal growth and improve on yourself so that you can be more of yourself and create the life that you really want to experience for yourself. So as you're going through that process, one of the things that you're going to come across is the feeling of shame. Many people feel shame and it's very natural. So as I see you coming in, just make a comment, hashtag live. If you see this on a replay, then hashtag replay. And let me know where you're watching from and give me some hearts and send me some gifts and all that good stuff because we're on TikTok, right? So what happens is that people end up in a place whereby they are feeling shame. And there's lots of societal pressures, especially in being a woman and in being married, because marriage is something that's looked upon as being good, righteous. It's a societal norm. And it's as though you have arrived if you are married. Many people, women in particular, they have this goal of being a wife, sometimes to their own detriment, because they hold off experiencing the fullness of life, waiting to find that person, waiting to start that family, and not really understanding that they are to live life and to experience it on a high level, whether it's travel, whether it's education, whether it's starting your own business, whether it's doing projects in the community. Travel, it's to really max out life and find more out about yourself so that when you do meet that person, you actually have far more to give. You know yourself more and you would have had a lot of life experience beforehand so that you have more to offer and are open to receive. But the narrative is that if your marriage fails, then this is the end of the world. Then this is something that is just so terrible. And whilst it may feel like it, because your hopes and your dreams have not panned out in the way that you would have hoped, there is light at the end of the tunnel. As said before, it's an opportunity. And it's one that must be taken with two hands. Because that place that you find yourself in, where you have to look in to yourself, do some self-introspection and ask yourself some very important questions, that when you search for the answers, actually free you, sets you on an adventure or a journey of learning about yourself, finding what your purpose is. many women end up feeling lost after divorce. When they look back, they found that they sacrificed or gave up parts of themselves in order to sustain the marriage. Because many women think that being good means that you sacrifice, meaning that you don't say no, meaning that you do everything for everybody and leave yourself till last. I spoke about that on my last live, to do with self-prioritization. So when a woman finds herself as a divorcee, she may feel shame. Shame that it didn't work. Shame that it's in the open what may have been going on behind the scenes. Shame that she's no longer referred to as Mrs. It's now Miss or Ms. Okay? And that can bring about feelings of shame, like being demoted from a high position job. You know, you were the CEO and now you're the cleaner. And this is when you're somebody that's very concerned about fitting into a box that society makes about what marriage should look like, and the fact that you're above other people in society because you have that status, because you have arrived. So shame creeps in, feelings of maybe letting down the family in not being married anymore. And when you go to work, people are going to know about it. When you take children to school, teachers and people are going to know about it. It's like that thing that you want to keep to yourself, but it ends up being exposed because of the changes that divorce will bring about in your life. But these feelings of shame often come from your own self-perception of who you are and how being married has added to you. And it does in some ways. But you are who you are, with your value, with your gifts, with your talents. And when you put yourself with somebody else, fine, it complements that. But you are still you. And you are still valuable. And you are not your circumstance. What has happened has indeed happened. And it's just like a chapter in your book of life. And you get to decide on what the next chapter is. And that to me is very exciting. Depending on how you were brought up, you might have been made to feel ashamed as a kind of discipline or consequence for bad behavior. You might have been shamed into doing things. And so now as a divorcee, it's shame on top of shame. And that can bring about some feelings that make people feel as though they're losing their worth. And it can become a struggle. And it can also affect wider relationships with people. And I'll tell you a story of Janet and Pat, let's say. So what happened is Janet was at work and she was going through a hard divorce. She was finding it very hard as a high achieving woman to be able to keep up her performance at work. She was taking regular bathroom breaks because she was breaking down and crying and having to compose herself to go back out into the office environment and perform well in her job. So Pat realised that Janet wasn't quite herself. So took her aside and just had a word to inquire if everything is okay. Janet broke down, started crying, and told her that she'd gone through a very tumultuous divorce and was having trouble processing everything. Well, Pat became a shoulder for her to cry on and gave her some very good advice on how she could gather her emotions together and was there as a source of support. So during this period, Janet took some time off work to gather herself, process everything, and then came back to work. When she did so, Pat realised that Janet was a bit off with her. She was trying to avoid her, being very avoidant. And Pat had no idea why this was happening or what she may have done to offend her. As far as she was aware, everything was okay between them. So this went on for quite some time. And Janet got a promotion. So she got her promotion and actually became Pat's boss. And she started to treat Pat in a way whereby she was breaching professional guidelines or conduct, let's say. And this caused a big rift between the two. Now, the underlying reason for Janet's behavior that came to light is that she felt feelings of shame. She felt ashamed that although she was this high-performing, high-achieving woman at work, she let someone in to know about her personal affairs and felt feelings of shame. Because this is something that women often struggle with, wearing the mask, wanting to fit societal norms and feeling like they have failed and feeling feelings of shame when they have to become vulnerable with somebody else, as Janet was with Pat. Janet had some feelings. She felt as though she was going to have to relate differently professionally with Pat. But Pat had no incline to treat her in a manner whereby she would feel less than who she was. Pat wasn't going to make Janet feel as though she was less than because she had gone through something and helped her. She wasn't going to overstep the boundaries of professionalism. But this was the underlying fear of Janet, why she decided to act in the way that she did with Pat. And in doing so, destroyed a relationship that really could have grown strength to strength with one person being there for the other, and then that relationship evolving into a real strong friendship. The feelings of shame made Janet behave other than the compassionate, kind person that she was, because she let someone in and was uncomfortable with that due to feelings of shame. So that's how shame can ill affect relationships that you have with others. When you learn to become vulnerable with them, but at the same time feel shame because you've done so, because you've asked for help. And women often find it very difficult to ask for help and feel shame once they have, and can treat people in a way that's quite harmful in trying to manage those feelings. So this is why self-awareness is very important. And this is why self-acceptance is very important. Because the way you view and frame something is going to dictate how you treat others. So that's something to really think about and consider. A key takeaway is that you are not your circumstance. Janet couldn't see that what had happened to her with her divorce and being helped by someone who was a colleague turned friend throughout the experience was, you know, it was okay. She wasn't losing anything in doing so. But because she was so used to wearing a mask and not used to being vulnerable, she didn't know how to process it. So know that you are not your circumstances. We go through life and things happen, but it doesn't reduce who you are. It's a challenge for you to rise up to and go through and come out on the other side, learning some lessons, learning things about yourself, learning how to do things differently next time so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls, learning how to be truer to yourself, how to speak up for yourself, learning when to let go, learning that you cannot control other people. Oftentimes in marriage and our relationships, we try to control the other person, hoping that they will change to be more of what we would like them to be. Or on the flip side of that, becoming a chameleon ourselves and turning ourselves into someone that we know we are not. And then it unravels and we come face to face with it and have to look at the improvements that we need to make so that we can be ourselves and be more successful in another relationship at the time that we're ready, because we've learnt the lessons. So shame has no place after divorce. Divorce happens. The statistics are proof that it happens to many people. It's not the end of the world. It's a brand new start. It's a new beginning. And I'm here to help women navigate through that time and space that you really need to give to yourself once you're out of a marriage and are having to figure out the way forward. So I have a masterclass that's coming up on the 6th of February, and I am inviting you to join us. We are going to go over things such as shame and self-prioritization and boundaries and how to move forward after divorce in a way that is very confident, because confidence takes a knock, let's say, after divorce. This is something that is extremely common. So I'm going to guide you on how to get that back. And for those of you who need something that's very quick and fast, maybe you're in the thick of it and you need clarity after divorce. What's the way forward? What can I do? What's happening? I'm emotionally all over the place. Then I invite you to book a clarity laser session whereby you book an appointment and we sit and you tell me what's going on with you, and I help you make a plan forward so you can get your footing back and you can self-regulate and go forward with a sense of direction when it feels like everything has just been turned upside down. So I will repost this live and I'll put the link in the comments, or you can simply DM me and book your appointment, because I'll send you the link for you to do so and for you to sign up on the masterclass. So if you have any questions, please inbox me them and share this live with those that you know will appreciate and be able to benefit from it. And lastly, I have a podcast and it's called Personal Growth Elevation. You can find it on all of the streaming platforms. And today, a bit later on, I'm going to be releasing the 3rd episode, which is on boundaries. And what is great about the podcast is that there are actionable steps that you can actually take to give yourself a quick win. And that is very helpful when you're on the journey of personal growth. So you're not just listening, you're able to actually do something that's going to give you a result that's going to help you step forward. So thanks for joining my live today, and I'll be back later this week. And remember to rise and shine. Take care.